All right, the first thing I want to say is uh, the pin that the pickup is off to the left. It's bent back. It's silver in color. It's got a hole through it. That bends forward and it goes down over the center pin of this thing. Let me make sure it's still in focus. So anyway, uh, you can see the tarnish on the pin. It's brass. It's tarnished. Now I want to tell you, uh, I took the front four front screws, outer outer corner screws of the white faceplate where the shaft is. I took them out. Now, thing wouldn't come apart, but I never put them back in. So there's in the front, on in the corners, there's going to be two long ones and two short ones. So that's why in the last video when I took the back plate off, spacers started falling out. Four spacers, only two will come out if you have the four front bolts in. I call them screws, bolts, whatever you want to call them. So what I want to tell you, that's one of the tricks that you when you cut this apart using a micro X-Acto knife saw, or you might even I wouldn't take a hacksaw to it. Maybe a Dremel. You put in the disc and you slowly cut it. Now I want to tell you what happened to me. Uh, First off, I took the four bolts in the front off out because I was seeing if anything wiggled, anything moved, but I never put them back in. So that's what caused the last video to have spacers drop out. So today, the first thing I'm like, well, let me put those four bolts back in, right? So I start doing that, and to see that, am I right? If I had the four bolts, if I had left the four bolts in on the front where the shaft sticks out, would only two spacers pop out? And the answer is yes. So as I'm doing it, I'm like, I have four bolts off to the side in a cup, and I start putting them on, and I notice there's a bolt missing on the front. There's six bolts on the front. You can see from the front, and I had all of them loose, and I did the outer four. There are two center ones towards the center. One of them's missing. So I'm sitting there. Oh, just I get the little screw out of the cup. I put it in there. Now I go to do something. I look. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have enough screws or bolts. And what happened? And I'm melting down. I'm like, because I'm older. I keep telling you that runs through my mind. I only do a little bit each day, putting this back together. So I remember how I did it. I can go look at a video. And then I ate lunch. Yeah, I ate eaten. I ate lunch, and then I took a nap, and I'm laying there. I'm going, this is like a magician's trick. The trick is usually done one step ahead. So when you're really watching to see the ball move, it's already been done. The ball is already in the other cup. So I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I counted four bolts when I took this thing apart from the front plate, put them in a cup. So that screw that's missing, I must have took it off later on. I'm like, no, I didn't take that off. So I said, all right, I got videos. Let me go back through the videos. You go back through the videos, and the two center and the front plate, there's four outer bolts, two long, two short. Then there's two shorter ones in the center. They're there. The later on, one of them's missing. I'm like, okay, I know what this is. I finally figured it out. When I was sawing, I put the unit in the vise, and I was sawing it with the micro saw to cut the clear plastic, and that vibration made that screw walk it out. It walked out. So to verify that, I had to come in here. Now you got to remember, this is a brown rug floor. It's beat. It's a baby's room. It's beat. It's 36 years old, and it's got all kinds of solder on it. I sat in my chair. I got my high intensity LED light out, and it's telescopic. You can pull the barrel, and it makes the beam smaller. I walk around. 20 seconds, I found the bolt that was missing from the front. I'm like, yeah, yeah. But I just wanted to tell you in this video that you can leave all 6 bolts on the front of this tuning cap, and you can still get it apart to go in here and clean where the contact is. You still, after you cut around the clear plastic, and you do it right behind the front plate. The back plate will pull out. I showed you that. It'll pull out. And then you have 4 bolts, 2 long, 2 short. And then what happens is 2 spacers will drop out. And you'll easily be able to figure out where they are. And all the spacers are threaded, right? And the bolt goes in through the top and goes down into a spacer that's threaded. So that's the other theme. In other words, if they're threaded like one of these, if this isn't threaded up on top, the screw is going to go down and meet a threaded a spacer underneath. It's very simple, but like I said, it had me baffled there for a while. You know, suddenly I'm missing a screw, and I won't tell you. Yeah, I can tell you, I was extremely careful. I counted every bolt. I kept them in little dishes or cups, and then suddenly I'm missing one. I'm like, no way, no way. And then I'm thinking about what operations I did, and with having the videos, I can go back and I can see the video just before I decided to cut the thing open. And I could see I had the 4 outer bolts on the front plate out, and the clear plastic is fused, or they used a really good glue, and it melted. The two plastics are melted together, or they use that ultrasonic unit that melts the 2 plastics together. But there they are. They were like, the 2 screws were there. The outer 4 bolts were missing, and just like that. And then in the next video, I'm telling you, I've already cut it open. I just cut it open, and the 1 bolt's missing. So I'm saying, all right, I know where I put it in the clamp or in the vise on the bench. I go down below there with the flashlight, and I found it like within 20 seconds. So yeah, little by little, I put this back together. I'm double checking everything, and you can see that pin right here in the center. It could be dried grease. It could be tarnish. It was a combination. So I'll be cleaning that with an eraser. I showed you my eraser pencil, and that's what I clean with. And I might put a little bit of Vaseline smear and put it back together. I'll be cleaning the post and the pickup arm with an eraser. I don't use the spray, all right? Because a few guys, if you really look on the internet about these, someone will tell you to spray inside. Deox. I just spray it with Deox inside. Yeah, okay. You want to see brass turn black, put some Deox on it and wait 3 months. And I tell you, I'm the guy that gets the radio after everybody bathes it in Deox. And the worst thing they could do is a band switch, a long band switch with a bunch of wafer switches on it, you know, like 5 connections per wafer switch, and they're all jet black because they've been sprayed multiple times. So each time you spray the band switch and then work it back and forth, it does clean it. It does work. But then after time, there's a little bit of acid or cleaner, let's call it cleaner, in the Deox, and then it slowly, any kind of brass part will turn black. And at some point, the guy sticks it on eBay. I get it. And then I'm there day after day with the eraser pencil, working on each little arm or little part that goes through the fingers of the wafer switch. And the wafer switch is self-cleaning normally, but some people, they don't wait. They just get the can of Deox out and spray it. You got to be careful with that stuff. Now, when you spray Deox into one of these switches, or in one of these trimmer caps, or tuning caps, there's insulators between there. And one guy online said it just causes them to hang up and tear. So I'm being real careful. But that I'm done for the day on this. I'm gonna tell you, when I realized, I'm like, where did that bolt go? And I'm thinking, and then finally he says, it's a magician's trick. You lost the bolt one step back, and not the first step where you took the bolts out of the front. It happened later on, and you don't notice it. I'm too busy working on this thing to realize one of the bolts during the cutting process vibrated out because I did loosen them up. Before I even started this, I made sure all the bolts would come loose because that's the biggest nightmare. You start working on something and you'll get a bolt that won't come out. And you can apply heat, but in this case, you really can't apply heat. You'll melt the insulators. But I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm just wanted to show you. I'm noticing more than 50 people have been following this. So this is clearly becoming a problem, or will be a problem in the future with people who want to restore radio. And showing you what I went through with this switch. And this switch is 3-gang. It seems like it's 4, but it's 3. And there's a lot to this damn little tuning capacitor. See, when I go back and look at these videos, I'll in my mind I'm saying tuning capacitor, but my voice is saying tuning switch, and that's what happens when you get older. It happens to some people just normally. They're thinking one thing and saying something else. But I notice it's more and more because I've been watching my videos for years, and I know I'm not as sharp as I was. And plus, this is the afternoon. I'm the sharpest right after my walk. I'm sharp, and then I eat lunch, and then I become like a snake. I got to go off somewhere and rest, and then I'll come out and do a video. And what happens is I do a couple steps each day, even though it's a crappy little tuning capacitor. I treat it very seriously because I have so much time in on this thing. I would really like the radio to come on and not make that scratchy sound. And I really didn't document really well the jumper wires that go from the front of the. I'll be able to figure it out. I know that the back 4 are trimmers, and I know from looking at the once it's together, I know which 3 trimming caps get actually wired up. So that's the confusing thing. This has 4 trimmers on the back, but only 3 are used because there's only 3 gangs in this switch. But tuning capacitor. See, I either see switch, tuning capacitor, a trimmer cup, or instead of tuning capacitor. Oh, it's rough. These videos are very hard for me to do, but I don't stop. I'm at it. I'm noticing it had 100 views. The last one had 100 views. So I'm thinking, all right, this is going to be a problem in the future. People are going to get even the stereos, some nice stereos. They switched from the metal ones. Shango calls them bread slicers. They switched to these things. And these things, you can find them online, a 2-gang. But the 2-gang is for AM. And the FM radio has 2 gangs for AM and 2 gangs for FM. And they're bastards. They're all bastards. Every one is slightly different than the next between the radios. You know, because there's always that guy, just get one out of another radio. Yeah, I like those guys. That's showing you they don't know what they don't know what they're talking about because they don't realize that tuning capacitors have different insides. And if you look at them, you can see how they put it together. Now, there is a nut. I believe this is a nut on the end here. You can undo that nut while holding the shaft, and you can take this thing totally apart. There's a guy on the YouTube that did that. And I told you, he takes a 4-gang tuning capacitor, and he makes it 2-gang. I think he just did it to show he could do it. I tend to want to do a video that has some merit. In other words, I'm showing you this thing makes a scratchy noise really loud when you tune it. I wanted to find what caused it. I want to fix it and get it back in the radio. And the radio's not worth doing it. This is not worth doing. I'm only doing it at this point because it's a what if. I won't even say it seemed like a good idea at the time. No, this has just been bad right from the beginning. The fact that I couldn't peel the plastics apart. You know, I used to do toys years ago. I had a gun. Now I'm gonna forget the name of the gun. Oh, it shot pellets. Ah, man, see, I know the name of that gun. I know it. It's in my head a million places. Uh, I can't think of it. But anyway, we had a gun. You would put the pellets in it, and it would shoot, and it was spring loaded. It didn't really shoot hard, and it's coming to me. It's sort of coming to me. But anyway, I slowly cracked mine open. Inside there was a piece of spring metal, and I showed it to my father. I said, "This broke inside the gun." And my father went into work, and he brought me home it's guitar string. It's used for cleaning out stuff like orifices of gas, you know, piano wire, guitar wire, all those different ones. It was a zebra gun. And anyway, I think, yeah, it sounds right. Anyway, uh, yeah, he brought me home a piece, and I cut it, I bent it, I put it, and I put the gun back together. It clicked back together. And the kid that I played with, his broke, and I said, I'll take it over and I'll put a new piece in for you. No, he fixed it by putting a string on the trigger. So when he was shooting you, he would pull the trigger back and then pull the string forward to bring the trigger back out. I was like, that's how he fixed things. And you know what? He never changed when he got older. He was still fixing stuff like that. And I'm like, I'll open it up for you, and I'll put a new piece of spring wire in there. That was the first experience with spring wire. And then my father one day needed a spring for it was the storm door on the side, and he took it apart, and it wasn't working. It's got this little cheesy little latch, and he's like, "What's wrong with it?" He's looking at it. I said, "Oh, that says the spring is all rusted, and when a spring rusts, it loses its springiness. Some of its outer shell of the wire is actually like almost like stainless steel. And when the spring gets rusty, it loses its tension. It's still the same thickness, but it loses its springiness." So he went down to the cellar. I went with him, and he put the spring on the bench, and then he got out a piece of it was a piano string. It comes in a little square packet. Piano string. It's a guitar string, and then he put what you call a mandrel in the vise. It's the thing you're going to wrap the spring around, and then as you turn the mandrel, you make this handle thing, and as you turn it, the other end is in the vise, and you pull the mandrel, oh, the form back away from you, and as you wind it forward, and then he said it's going to grow a certain amount depending on if real springy wire like a G string on a guitar. When you wind it on the mandrel under pressure, you're pulling back. When you let go, it's going to unwind a little bit, and the spring is going to get bigger. So it took 2 shots, and he was able to make the same spring, same amount of springiness, same size. We went up there, put it in the door, and it worked. He just looked at me, with that like, well, you spotted that one. But he took the spring out and was holding it in his hand. He didn't realize that it had half as much springiness because it was rusted. And I picked up on that from doing toys. And he was nice enough to bring me some. It's called spring wire. It's called music wire. It's piano wire and guitar string. And G is very flexible. A G string. I think it's the smallest one on the guitar, or one of the smaller ones, versus going towards the bass direction. But I have packets of G strings, and I bought a 1 mile roll from a spring company. They were going out of business. I called the guy up on the phone. He was just laughing. He says, "Come over here, and I'll sell you the roll of spring wire for like $20." And I drove over there. He was over in Belleville. You could see they were getting moving. They were giving up. But they used to make custom springs for anything, from pianos to flutes to. So anyway, he sold me a roll. So anyway, when I was leaving New Jersey, I had the roll sitting there, and it's a I don't remember what size it was, but it was a G string. And this kid that came into my house, he goes, "That's guitar string wire." I said, "Well, it's called music wire, and there's different grades." I said, "That's high grade. They use it for making springs. I got there's a mile on the spool." And he was doing all kinds of sound effects. You tie one end of that to like an eye hook and put it in a wall, and then you run the string like say 20 feet, and then you hang it over like a pulley with a heavy weight on it, and then at some point in the string, even though it's steel, he has pickups, and you can put sound into it, and it'll go along and it'll do reverb. You can make all types of sounds. The Star Wars, the sound of the laser, that's done with the steel wire that comes down from a guidepost on a metal tower. It's actually a twisted pair of some type of steel, but it's just the right length. And when you hit it, it makes the sound with a microphone of the laser blast. One of the shows showing how they made the sound effects for Star Wars. I saw them do that. But this kid told me about putting pickups all along the wire, and then you can put sound in, and then it reverbs. By the time it gets down the wire, I was like, he goes, "How much do you want for the spool?" I'm like, "There's a mile on there. No, I'll use it." And I'm like, "Okay, you're going to use it." I said, "I'll sell it to you for what I got it for." And I said, $20. And that 20 come out so fast because he was buying guitar string wire at the music store, and he was using that. And he wanted to make it longer. But years ago, you could go to a place and they would sell you a piano string, and you can still get guitar strings, and you can make springs out of them. I think I went off on a tangent at the end there, but you might enjoy it. Making springs. It's a mandrel. You wind the spring around a mandrel. Machinery's Handbook, I think, describes it, but my father just showed me 1, 2, 3 because it was a simple spring for in the screen door latch, and it was only like 3 turns, and they were spaced apart, each turn about a half inch. It was just you could almost wind the thing by hand over around a piece of metal and get it right. You just got to remember, you have to make it when you're burping. When you're winding something, a spring, you wind it smaller than what you want it to be. And then when you let go, it grows. And that's an art form, getting that right. If you look at my video of the crank organ, that has the complete instructions on how to make a mandrel using a coat hanger, and you have a post, a handle you hold, and you turn this other thing, and you have the one end of the piano wire in a vise, and you turn it, and the spring winds on another piece of coat hanger, and then when you let it, you can make like 3 springs at a time, and then you cut them to length, and they're used in the mechanism to make the crank organ. Yeah, I know how to do that stuff too. I don't know what to tell you. Look what I'm doing now. That's all I got to say is opportunity comes, it's facing you, and then you take up the challenge. And then I want to tell you, a lot of times you're like, why did I touch this? Why didn't I just throw that radio in the garbage? I don't know. It's part of me. It's like I have to get up at the same time every day. I'm messed up, and it's just from always being in people expecting me to fix something, giving me responsibility. Uh, it always gave me more. I would replace a guy like in RCA. The guy was a doofus, and I had like 3 times the amount of work he had because he messed up. And on top of that, they kept adding more and more things I was responsible for. But I learned how to do calibrations and the whole setup and the paperwork, but I never was able to use it. But it's a learning thing. You learn that just because the meter reads a certain amount doesn't mean it's calibrated and it's correct. And the guys in the department all brought their tachometers in. We had a tachometer in the closet that somebody brought in. It didn't work. and then they were using a frequency counter, a frequency generator, to test the tachometers. And the actual signal from the car, from the coil, is actually basically a square wave. And there are kits. The Heath kit told you you had a line cord with a resistor on it, and you would use a 60 cycle on a certain point on the when you repaired the analyzer, the Heath kit analyzer. So they all thought that their tachometer could be calibrated the same way, using the voltage from the line or a frequency counter, a frequency generator. And what it turned out to be, it looked like a really good tachometer, but it turned out to be the one that comes in the kit with three other. It comes in with a cheap stroboscope or strobe meter. No, strobe. Anyway, the stroboscope for doing your the timing on the timing belt and the thing. A strobe light. Yeah, a strobe light. And then it's got the tachometer, the strobe light, and there was one other thing in the kit. Oh, the vacuum. There was a vacuum gauge that came in the kit. I think that's it. All right, that's it.